So tonight we're going to be talking to Kim Sheed about his experiences in caring for elderly parents. Over the last 10 years or so, Kim has been the chief caregiver for his parents as age and dementia have begun to take its toll on them. And Kim's going to share the journey that he and his parents have been on, how he coped with the frustration and commitment, and what it took to continue to grow his relationship with his parents over this time. Kim's story is actually a really encouraging one for all of us who face the effects and changes that age might have on our loved ones. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to talking to you tonight, Kim.
Yeah, nice to be here.
Yeah. What we'll do first is we'll just open with a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be together again for Family Matters tonight. We thank you for the opportunity to talk to Kim and for the technology that we have to be able to see this and share this in different places around the world. And we pray that you would be with us tonight, that you would be with Kim, and that you would give him the wisdom that he needs and the remembrances that he needs to be able to share with us, to be able to encourage us all in this task, and that's so important. Please help us to be able to honour our parents as you have told us to. Thank you for all your blessings through Jesus Christ. Amen. Right. I just wanted to do a quick Bible reading, or a couple of quick Bible readings actually. The first one comes from 1 Timothy 5, verses 7 and 8. And it says this, Paul says this to Timothy as his instructions to the ecclesia. Give these people these instructions too, so that no one may be open to blame. If anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for his immediate family, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. And the other one is from Deuteronomy 5, verse 16. And you're going to go, I know what that is. Honor your father and mother as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live long and that it may go well with you in the land the Lord your God is giving you. So those are our readings.
So, yeah, thank you for joining us tonight, Kim. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so
nice to be here.
We understand you're from a family of all boys.
Yes, I 5 boys. Actually, there were 6 boys, 5 sons and my dad. Yep.
Okay, great.
The mum had to look after 6 boys.
Oh wow. Okay. And what was your place in the family?
Because I'm the middle child, but what happened? My dad was an accident waiting to happen. So he would be in the hospital in Auckland and have his left arm in a cast, and he would have that removed in the morning, and by the afternoon his right arm was in a cast, and so he was just everything was just an accident waiting to happen. And then he broke many bones in his body, and then after they were married, mum was an occupational therapist, my dad never broke another bone in his body.
Oh wow. Okay, awesome.
She's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, that's
my mum.
Yeah, so tell us, what do you do for a job?
I'm a head teacher of mathematics in a Sydney school, boys high school. Yeah.
Okay, so pretty full on. Your work is pretty full on for you.
Yeah, pretty full on indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting to your parents, they obviously gradually get older or got older. When did you start to realise that your parents needed support?
Oh, it's probably been the last 15 years that because Dad, Mum was still working, but Dad had lost his job and didn't have an income basically, so we needed to look after them. Probably for the last, probably 25 years we've looked after them as a body of boys and sons, because Dad didn't have an income, so we wanted to make sure that they had a house, somewhere to live, and they could feel secure and not have to worry too much about, where the next meal was going to come from. So we decided to put us all together and see how it went.
Okay. So what does this look like over the years as, from where it started to where it is now? What's been the progression?
Oh, what we did was my mum and dad lived with my two brothers, my younger brothers, and then they lived with me, and then they lived with my two other brothers, and then they lived with me. So we just kept on rotating around, and then I've had, over the last probably a little bit more than 10 years, looking after them and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there a point in looking after them where you sort of went, okay, so this isn't just about providing them with a place to live or making sure they had the next meal, but actually a case of where you're going, actually we really need to start looking after them now, physically?
Yeah, well, as I said, my dad was an accident waiting to happen, and so later on in his life, his body said, well, it's now payback time, and he just had a lot of found it really hard to walk, found it, his hands were very sore, and arthritis and that sort of stuff. So we needed to. It was hard to maneuver him, so we needed to make sure that he was going to be safe. He was having falls and those sorts of things. My mum is physically fine, apart from she has a thyroid gland. Apart from that, she's been pretty healthy. So although I must say she's had high blood pressure, and that's probably looking after my dad, I think. So yeah. But my dad, just physically was getting harder and harder to look after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was dementia that came into the picture at some point as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, so we all thought that Mum was starting to show dementia first, and we started talking to Dad about it, and about 6 months later, Dad just sort of won the gold medal in terms of Mum and Dad, because he just leapfrogged her, and he started, dementia-wise, getting a lot worse. So.
Okay. Yeah, so that just adds another layer to the whole care package, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. So what would happen with Dad was he was starting to walk about, to walk wherever, and it was hard. Sometimes we didn't know where he was, and he would just go on a venture on a taxi or a bus. So that added an extra dimension where you had to, not only was he very possible going to have a fall, but he wasn't sure where he was, and those sorts of things. So it adds a major dimension to dementia. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So how did this look like for you? You were still trying to work full time as well as care for them over the time they were at your home?
Yeah, so what happened was I decided to buy a house. I wanted them to have, a place to their own, because we were at my brother's house, and that was a bit frustrating because my brother is a hoarder, and so there were boxes everywhere. So it was getting a little bit harder for Dad to get around. So I ended up buying a house up on the Central Coast, where actually the bank owns it. But we moved up here, and then I was able to go to work. I felt fairly confident going to work and coming home, but then after a few months, I decided to get professional care in, and to make sure they had people come over, someone come over about 4 days a week, take them shopping, take them wherever they needed to go, and then I could come home and cook them dinner and just make sure they were safe. But it did get to the point where, as I said, my dad started just wandering, and it was really hard to track him down. So when you get a phone call from a taxi driver in Sydney saying, "You Kim Shee, I've got your parents here," but so Mum would go along for the ride, because Dad would say something like, "Oh yeah, just got to just got to go down to Sydney to seal a deal. Do you want to come for the ride? Well, you know, work's on. I've got to get this done. And my mum would just go along thinking, you know, so that her dementia was starting to kick in too, because she was starting to believe him. And, you know, you get phone calls trying to find him in Sydney, and it was pretty scary at times. So, yeah.
So
Yes.
did you have something in place so people knew who to contact?
Yeah, so I bought them a bracelet which had their name and their phone number, my phone number, and just explain, you know, on that bracelet people were able to read it. So I had a few number of phone calls saying, "Are you Kim Sheed? I've got your dad here. He's in Sydney, he's in St Ives, he's in Terry Hills." So the bracelet worked out really well.
Okay, well that was good.
And they obviously had phones as well.
Okay, just going back a step, where you said you got professional help in, was that difficult to get in place?
No, the government provides. So they will tell you that, okay, so the things are available are you can either get professional help in or aged care. I mean, you can obviously go it alone if you want to, but those things are made available from government. You got to pay for them, of course, but being government, they're cheaper than, I mean, you could also go through private, which is a bit more expensive. So they have packages there for you to work with.
Okay, so it was all government subsidised.
Yeah, subsidised.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's good.
Yeah.
And
But you can have your own private ones if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how did you find that, like with the care that they were given over that time? You know, was that really helpful?
Yeah, it gave me a bit more confidence that I could come home and mum and dad will be all right. But you know, it was, as I said, I came home one time and mum and dad were not there, couldn't ring them, didn't know where they were. I rang my brothers, they didn't know where, continued to ring, and it was really scary. So,
Yeah.
you know, those sort of things happen. Rang the police, obviously. So when you come home and you've got worries like that, then, you know, I mean, we had been doing the packaging before then, but you just didn't need to worry as much. That was obviously a day when they the helpers, I mean, they were only there for 2 hours a day, so you know, even then you weren't exactly sure what was going to happen. So it's just time to start thinking about, is it aged care the most the best place for them, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So-
yeah. I guess for their own safety, you really do need to consider what options are needed to be able to keep them as safe as possible.
So with you
Yeah,
working
so
at the same time.
Sorry?
Carry on.
I was going to say, because you can also be a carer, you can get paid to be a professional carer. You can get help in or the aged care. So those are basically your three decisions to make. Sorry, Robert, your question?
Yeah.
I think it was where you're working full time.
Yeah. While you were working full time and your parents were sort of starting to wander off, did you find yourself really worrying about them all day at work?
Yeah, you
wondering
did.
what they'd been up to, or you know?
You would think. I mean, I knew my mum was not. She'd never be a wanderer. She's starting to be a wanderer now, but she was never a wanderer then. So I knew my mum would be all right. It was just a matter of, I would ring up my dad to see how he was doing. If I got a phone call, because they were still, you know, using phones and all that, so I'd tell them to ring me and those sort of things. So I remember one night I had to stay back at school because we had a parent-teacher night, and I rang up throughout the day, and then I rang up Dad and I said, look, okay, dinner's on the I put it on the bench. All you need to do is put it in the microwave, turn it on. I put it on for 3 minutes, just had to press start and all those sort of things. But when I got home, I discovered that it was just one of those plastic trays with a bit of meat in it or whatever it was. Unfortunately, Dad had only just put it in the oven. He put it in the oven rather than the microwave oven. So those sort of things, very scary. I remember having a friend stay, and he was staying for a few days. So he was, on one particular occasion able to help. But he told me that Dad left the stove on and just walked away and those sorts of things. So, yeah, it started to really weigh on your mind that, something's going to happen here. We need to do something about it.
Yeah. Wow.
But with the boys, we decided that we wanted to look after Mum and Dad as much as possible. So we did not want to force Mum and Dad to go into an aged care facility. We wanted to make sure that it was their decision. So in the end, what happened was that Dad a number of times had gone wandering. He had been had falls. Like I said, I'm the power of attorney, so I'd go into their credit card just to check if their bank details were all okay, and I'd see $200, whatever, and that was a taxi fare down to Sydney. I rang up and the guy was driving in the taxi and he said, look, it's $80 already. So that happened a number of times. So on the last time when we couldn't find them, I just said to Mum, what do you think? I said to Mum, are you worried about this? And she said, yeah, I'm starting to worry. And I said, what do you think the answer is? And the expression when the penny drops, the penny dropped for Mum. And my brother had previously taken them down to Chamberlain Gardens, which is a Christadelphian aged care facility just 15 minutes from my house. And she said, yeah, I think we need to move into Chamberlain Gardens. So I wasn't going to force Mum to make the decision, but she started to realise. And I said, well, you don't need to go in. Your Dad can go in. I said, it will be better if you go in with Dad together. So that's how it all came about, that we decided to move them into aged care Chamberlain Gardens.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So how did it go with, you're one of 5 brothers. How did it go with talking to your brothers about what you're going to do with your Mum and Dad, or how you're going to look after them, or who's going to have them stay? How did your family conferences sort of go or work, or
well,
decisions get made?
Yeah, well, see, Rowan and my Rowan is the older brother, and he and myself, we decided amongst all, well, when I say all of us, there's one brother there who doesn't have much to do with us. So, we went, I think, 7 years without hearing from him, and then we got a wedding invitation, those sort of things. So he wasn't really a part of the decision making. He chose not to be a part of it. We try to include him from time to time, but basically we decided that Rowan and myself would be the power of attorneys, and because of that, we tried to include the 4 boys in it, in the decision making, but we decided what would happen, and in negotiation with one another, we were able to say, do we want to hold off? Can we? And then we realized that, we needed to take action because of the dementia. The dementia, as you said, adds another dimension, and it just makes it really hard. And I couldn't guarantee Mum and Dad's safety going to school every day. So we needed to. So I would just make phone calls to my brothers and just say, this is the situation. What do you think? And they go, yeah, we can see it. So we ring up when we need to. We talk about, like, when Dad had a stroke. So I rang up all the boys to tell them, and I said, what's going to happen about, what do you want to do? They've said that, do you want extra help, keeping him alive and all that? And we all decided, without any pressure, that we wanted Dad just to, be at peace, and he would be out of pain, and not be on life support and those sort of things. So we just the phone calls and just sort of talking about it is how we normally did it. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're looking after parents, can easily become a real. It could I can imagine could be a real financial strain. How did that work? I know you've talked about having power of attorney. How did all that sort of, the financial side of it work for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a financial burden, but how many years and how much money did they pay for us, as young boys? Like mum and dad used to buy shopping $300 worth of groceries Thursday night, and by Friday morning, 3/4 of it would be gone. So just the financial side of things from mum and dad's point of view, to look after 5 boys and growing boys at that, you're going to be eating out of house and home. So they were always willing to, the financial gain. So you take it in your stride, being the power of attorney. If there's things that have to be paid for, I can take it out of their accounts if I need to. You chip in. I didn't get as much help from the brothers as I could financially. That's just the way it went. As I said, one brother didn't want to know. One brother lives on the Gold Coast. One brother's got, worries of his own. And my other brother, Craig, he was very helpful. So he would, you work it out, and it's a strain, but how much have they done for you, So financially,
it's a chance to give back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a chance to give back. I mean, financially, I'm on a head teacher's wage, so some things you got to grin and bear. Other things, if we went out for coffee, what I would do in the end was I would pay for one round, and then next time Dad would pay, and then next time Mum would pay, and we try to rotate. I mean, I would end up paying a little bit more, but that's just. And then when you're at home, Mum and Dad, oh yeah, we'd like to pay for the groceries, So from time to time, yeah, okay, you're welcome to pay. So they helped out from time to time. They were getting a pension in the end. So financially, it's just a thing you bear because they've done so much for you over the years, And they give a little bit from time to time, and they did a good job there, and we'd never get them to help out with the mortgage. That was too much for them, but they'd be happy to buy groceries for 2 weeks or whatever it might be, and then another 2 weeks later on, and those sorts of things.
Yeah. Now you decided to take them on a big trip back to New Zealand just to see some of their old haunts and people from their past. And tell us about that.
Well, I had I actually did a pre-trip to that, so I took them down to Geelong and the Great Ocean Road just to see how how they could handle it, because Dad was starting to need to go to the toilet quite a bit, so that was an added dimension. So took them down Geelong. We survived that, and I thought, okay, I wanted to take them back to New Zealand because they lived 20 years in New Zealand. I wanted them to say hello and goodbye while they could, because I knew their time, in terms of travel, was running out. So we booked the passports. We got all the everything. I got all the necessary requirements. I got 2 flatmates here, and I just jokingly said to one of them, I said, oh, so yeah, I'm going to New Zealand with my mum and dad. Would you like, we'd like to come, just jokingly, just thinking, and he said, yeah, that'd be great. So Bob came along, and he was really helpful. So that really helped. So we went along. I just remember took them out of aged care, that you have to get permission from the government. So I think they're allowed 51 days a year outside. So 14 days wasn't going to be a problem. And I remember getting their bags and putting in the back, and you'd have to do their seat belts up and all that. And I just thought, oh, what have I done? This is going to be scary. So that was on the way to the airport, and I thought, oh no. So had to hire wheelchairs at the airport for Dad. Bob grabbed bags, I grabbed bags, and off we went. And I organised, lots of people to stay at, and you were one fabulous couple, family who had us for a few days, nights, and I've got my cousins who live in Auckland, so we're able to spend time with them and sleep over at their house. Mum and Dad have a good friend, Sylvia Page, who lives down in Wellington. So we wanted to see her. I wanted Mum and Dad to say hello to her because she meant a lot to them. So it was just a matter of organising people where to stay. Deb Forbes put us up in Wanganui, and we didn't know, I didn't get any accommodation in Wellington, so we just stayed at a YHA or whatever hostel. But it was wonderful to have, your help and everyone else's help to get them to come along. So it was an amazing trip. It was a very scary trip at times, just some of the things that happened.
You had a bit of an adventure in Wellington, didn't you? Dropping them off at a hotel.
So I also took the time to go down to Dunedin because Ray, you all know Ray, I guess. So Ray asked me to come. I'd been asking me for years to come and stay with him. So I went down to see Ray and the Dunedin Ecclesia, Sarah and Rodney. But having Bob there, I was confident that I could go down to Dunedin for the weekend, see them, and then Bob would look after them. So there were other things I did, but I remember one night in Wellington, so you couldn't park. It was in the city. I probably should have got a better hostel because this was right smack in the city of Wellington. And it was pretty cold. It was June, July, so they were all rugged up. But I parked outside the hostel, and I said to Mum and Dad, I'll walk you in. Just need to stay there for 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I'll be back. I'll park the car. All is good. So I took them into the hostel, parked on the street, had to rush out so I could get the car. I got them to sit down, and I parked the car, came back 5 minutes later, and I walked in and they weren't there.
Oh, no.
I thought, what is going on? So I went up to the 6th floor to see Bob. Are they up there? No, they're not. I walked all around. I asked the desk. No, they're not. So I thought, oh, this is not good. So I'm putting in lots of prayers at this time. And by the way, especially for my Australian friends here, I've never told my brothers this story. So if Pat and Anthony are listening and anyone else, best not to talk about it. But so I went outside and I started walking around going, what's going on? And I literally probably walked 600 meters down the street, and I walked down this other street and I saw another hotel there, and I saw Dad walking into the hotel. I don't know why I went to that street. Maybe God guided me. I don't know, because there was many streets around. It could have been anywhere. So I went and got them, and then had to go through the same process again. So go to the front door, put them in, park the car, go out, and then fortunately they were there when I got back. So it was a pretty scary time, I'll tell you that now. So
yeah.
But that's happened a few times in other instances,
Right. Yeah, I imagine though you would have to rely pretty heavily on God for so many of these instances, and I guess you would have seen His hand in the situation time and time again.
Definitely. God was, as we know, God's awesome, and He definitely guided us through. Like there was one time I couldn't find Mum and Dad, and I think I'd mentioned it before, and ringing up and trying to work out where they were, ring up the police, rang up my dad numerous times, never answered, and then rang up my brother, and he actually rang my dad, and he was somehow able to pick up that phone call. So I then got in touch, and I said, where are you, and those sorts of things. And then I actually rang them up, and they were in a place called Mona Vale, and I said to them, where are you? And they said, oh, we're in Mona Vale. And I said, can you give the phone to someone else to see? So I'd asked the guy and I said, oh, look, where are you? And he goes, yeah, Mona Vale. I said, oh, look, can you just point them that way and just get them to walk up that street, because that's where my brother lived. And he said, no, I'm really busy, mate. But look, I'll pass you over to this other guy. And I said, so I started talking to him, and I said, Craig. So I listened to him, and it was my brother, Craig, who lived in Monavale, and he was walking home. And I said, can you see Mum and Dad there? And he goes, yeah, I can. I said, well, they're yours for the night. So God was just amazing how those things would unfold. You know, just so, yeah, another story was Dad was in, I worked at a place called Asquith. Dad was in Hornsby at a cafe, and the guy rings me up and he says, look, your dad wants to go to Killarney Heights, which is where he used to live. I don't want to give him a lift. I want him just to stay here. Can you come and pick him up? So my mate from work, we car shared at the time. He dropped me down there. We picked him up, but we couldn't get him home because I didn't have a car. So had a faculty meeting, and then my dad sat in there, introduced everyone to my dad. And then I got home and he said, you know, Kim, that was a great faculty meeting. Thanks very much for that. So just the way, you know, just those sort of things, how people would help out and do. Like one time, you know, they're in the train. Can you point them to Gosford Station? Yeah. So someone would help them to the train station, to the ticket. And I'd tell them, look, come up the stairs and I'll meet you. And once again, they were there and they were able to find me. So God was amazing in all that he did, and still is, of course.
Yeah. Now there must, when you're dealing with people with older people with dementia and so on, there's got to be some really frustrating times. How did you? Well, there you've gone. If you can still hear me.
Yeah, I've just got to plug in my phone.
How did you deal with the frustrations?
Yeah, once again, lots of prayer. I realize, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I realized that I remember there was one time and Dad did something which was really just crazy, and it really frustrated me, and I realized that I had to you know, try to be obviously more patient. So you pray for patience, just to be able to not to get yourself in that situation where you were getting upset about it, because, you know, I had to realize that, you know, Dad couldn't help it in the end. He would do things because he's such a generous man, and he would like to do things for you, but he would not knowing he would do it, but not realize that by doing that, it caused this effect and that sort of thing. So I had to be more patient. I had to, people talk about, you know, you shouldn't try to change their story and how they're you know, you try to work with the story that they talk about. Because I used to say, well, you know, no, that didn't happen. No. But then I realized that you had to get them with the story they had rather than the story of reality. And my dad would often have a story that just wasn't reality anymore, and you had to work with that rather than try to condemn it, sort of thing. See, patience, working with the story that you've got. I think it's wonderful to be able to just include them. I tried to include them in everything I could to, you know, build that so they could have fun. They could have, and that overcomes the frustrations when you try to build that relationship again, because you're starting afresh. I would take them down to the meeting every Sunday. We'd travel about an hour to get there, because I go to a ecclesia that's probably 55 minutes from my house after going to their house, over an hour. So I just wanted them to be included. And I think doing those sorts of things with your parents, it's like starting afresh, but when you can enjoy their company, because we had a lot of fun together. When you can enjoy, I mean, that time in New Zealand was a wonderful time. We had so much fun. I mean, there was some scary moments, but, you know, it was fun just to spend that time with them, and you get to see another side of them. So that, to me, overcomes, you've got to work hard at overcoming the frustrations, but building that relationships helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So really a lot of it comes down to learning to enjoy that moment that you're in now, but also to be able to really just build a deeper relationship and be able to really engage with that and find the blessing in that moment.
Yeah, I think you do have to try to enjoy it as much as you can. I mean, it is sad, and no one wants to see any of our parents getting older, but it's a fact of life, and it's going to happen if they get to an age. My dad was 85. You know, if they get to an age of 85, their mind's going to start playing tricks on them. You know, so you've got to appreciate for what you do. You build those fun times. You know, but you've got to realise these things are going to happen. So, and it is sad, but so you got to try and look at it at a different point of view, because if you get too down about it, then it's going to really frustrate you.
Yeah.
And there are frustrating
I'm
times.
sure.
And you try to include God in it as much as you can. So I take my dad's passed away now, but I take my mum down to the seashore and we look at the pelicans, we do a reading, you know, we go for a walk, you know, and you just have a bit of fun with her, you know. And
yep.
I mean, I took a 10-pin bowling. I actually took mum and dad 10-pin bowling, and it's and Bob came. Mum used to get 172 at 10-pin bowling, so she was pretty good at 10-pin bowling. And I remember taking her, and she still beat Bob, my flatmate, and we went a few years ago. So I don't try to tell that story to Bob too much, but she got about 90. So, you know, and I had my dad, he would get the ramp. So he was not strong enough to push the ball, so we'd have to help him push it. He'd have a bit of fun, and we'd put the bars up, and, you know, there was one time when he you know, hit the bar and then come out and he got a strike, you know, those sort of things. So, you know, that didn't happen often, because he probably only got about 20, or was only, I think it was a spare more so than a strike. But yeah, so, you know, you try to have fun with them as well. I actually did take my mum there probably last holidays, and I took her bowling, and yeah, the time has come for her, unfortunately, to stop the bowling, because it was just too heavy for her. I got the ramp, we used the ramp. She got, I think, 35 this time compared to 90, but it was just, the ball's just too heavy for her. But you try to have a bit of fun, you know, and I think they appreciate it. So it's building that, knowing there's frustrating times, but building the fun times, and there's still a lot of fun to be had, because my mum and dad have got an amazing sense of humour, you know, and you just love hearing it. Like, there'd be the other way to build a relationship, my brother and myself, we used to cook dinner for them every Saturday night. So we'd have a roast dinner. So I'd bring them up, and my brother would come and stay up for the weekend, and we'd cook them dinner, and just that was a lot of fun. My brother would go to the point of, because I've got an aloe vera, if anyone wants any aloe vera, please let me know. I've got plenty of it. He would get the aloe vera from down the back and rub my mum's legs, and just, you know, make sure my mum's legs, because they were getting a bit old, her legs, and he would spend every Saturday night, you know, every Saturday night, but most Saturday nights, just rubbing her legs with aloe vera. Just having that fun times with them. But I talk about my mum and dad's sense of humour. My mum and dad, so you go down the aged care facility, and you'd open their drawer up, and there'd be about 4 remote controls in there. And you go, what's going on? And they go, oh, you know, these are all remote controls from the aged care facility. So my mum and dad just pick them up, take them to their, you know, my mum's purse. You used to see my mum's purse. It's just like got everything in there. Anyway, I was at home and I couldn't find my phone, and I was like, what's going on? And I said, Dad, empty out your pockets. Sure enough, my mobile phone's in his pocket, and he just smiles at me. And then I go, oh, you know, another night I go, oh, Dad, where's the remote control? I go, oh, I don't know. I said, Dad, empty out your pockets. And he'd be like, just look at me, and then all of a sudden there'd be remote control. And then another time, Mum would have the remote control in a purse, and you go. So just their sense of humour was, you know, a lot of fun as well, and you were able to. That was one thing I really did enjoy, you know, with them. So
Yeah.
one story which I love is that Dad had a fall 6 months, probably 8 months before his stroke, and the doctor said to him, "Can you lift your arm?" So Dad, he said, "Is, you know, can you lift your arm?" And my dad goes, I said, "Dad, what are you doing?" He said, "Can I lick my arm?" I said, "No." He said, "Lift." So, you know, just those sort of things. You just laugh because it's a fun time, and you just remember all those stories. So yeah.
Yeah. So there would be some absolutely precious, beautiful memories that you have out of this time, and just something real precious that you gain out of having this time with your parents and being able to care for them in this way.
Yeah, definitely. You appreciate every moment you have with them. You know, I think you've got to look at the positives. If you get weighed down by the negatives, it's going to drive you bonkers. So you got to realise that people get old, and we all get old, and but look for those special moments with them. Build that relationships. Yeah, for sure. Enjoy their company.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, there's so much that they have still got to share, even at that stage of their life.
Yeah, I mean, even if just because you have dementia, it doesn't mean you're still. I mean, sure, some of the things that you come out with aren't correlating to what was asked, but you know, they've still got a brain and they can still work through things. I mean, obviously not as quickly, and some things are totally hard for them to do. But you know, you got to remember that probably an idea is to find out a little bit about dementia and what, you know, how to, you know, a good idea is to do a bit of research on how to handle people in that way as well who have the dementia.
Just wondering, just briefly, is there anything that you would have changed in the way you looked after your parents? You know,
I probably would have got probably should have got help a little bit earlier. Learned to, you know, how to maybe do that more of that research to work out ways to handle it better. Probably worked out hopefully sooner, you know, I should, you know, I need not to get frustrated about this. So come at it a different angle. Probably, just realize that, you know, there are other people to help. So, I mean, you did try to include people, but I took a bit of the burden on myself. But there are others out there who do want to help. So, you know, we'd also have collegial members who live nearby, so John and Joy, and they would come around and help out where possible. So to accept that help was a really nice blessing as well. So you probably after the fact say, "Oh, I should have thought about that earlier. You know, I should have done that. I should have done this."
Yeah.
But hindsight's a powerful thing.
And you know what we're doing now, you know, is great because, you know, there's someone that's going to be someone that's out there is listening tonight or on the recording, and is going to be going, well, I'm just starting out on this journey, and you know, I'll do some research, or I'll ask for the help now before I really need it, you know, and get those systems in place, you know, check out the power of attorney, the sort of things that you've done, and I think that's going to be really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got brothers and sisters, you know, include them more in it. And I could have probably included some of my brothers more into it, but you know, just the family circumstances would suggest that, you know, not. But if you've got members who are close to you, very close to you, and live in that near you, then definitely include them in as much as possible.
So last question, I think. talk to those people who are at the stage of caring for older parents or family members. What encouragement could you really, could you just share with them briefly tonight? What extra, what last word of encouragement have you got for people who are embarking on that journey right now?
Yeah, obviously include God as much as possible. It is a hard road. It's not going to be an easy road, but it's one to enjoy. And if you tackle it with that sort of thinking, with God always first, including God in everything you do, then, and there's help with your brothers and sisters, there's help with your own particular family, you will get through it and enjoy that time. So yes, it is a frustrating time, but it's one to look back and go, that was really fun. Like, I know that the trip to New Zealand was a really hard thing to do, but it was a really enjoyable time to see mum and dad have that time with their friends, friends they hadn't seen in 30 years or whatever. That was a wonderful moment for me. So, it is going to be a hard one. You're not alone. There are people out there who will support you, and they'll come around and they'll make you dinner. They'll come around and they'll just sit with you. There will be people who will do that. And so remember, you're not alone in this. You have family members around you. You have the ecclesia around you. There's professional help. There's aged care facilities. All those things at your beck and call, phone calls away, and you can do it, and God will guide you through. God gave me strength, gives me strength every day, and so grateful that he was always showed his guiding hand to bring mum and dad through. But yeah, it is a challenging time, but I try to enjoy it.
Yeah. Great encouragement. Thank you so much for that, Kim. We really appreciate what you've shared with us tonight, and just the encouragement for all of us to be able to step up and look after those loved ones in our lives that perhaps need a little bit of extra care and the attention as
you're
well.
Very welcome.
Because, I know that sometimes it can be a very lonely time and a very scary time for those that are in that situation themselves, and just to know that they're surrounded by people who still love them, who still care for them, who are watching their back, is very, very important to them. So thank you for being the person that has done that.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Energy. Thank you for having me along tonight, and hopefully I've been able to help and to encourage. And if anyone ever needs to talk to me about it privately, I'm sure Robert and Sharon can point you in my direction if you need to. But there's many people in New Zealand who been through the same situation, and Australia. So we do what we can, and
yeah.